Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 142. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for Weekly Recap Newsletter 190. So just a quick summary of things that happened this past week in Star Atlas. A couple Zinc guides were published. The community team had the Atlas Brew, and then there was the monthly economic forum. But before I get to that, just a couple of things about things I'm building within the Star Atlas ecosystem. Of course, my website, intergalacticherald.com. It's a great resource for many things about Star Atlas, from a beginner's guide, directories, of things like Star Atlas guilds, content creators, builders, tools, and things like that. You can get my weekly recap. You can also get recaps of the community events and an AI summary. And lastly, I do have a Star Atlas Discord newsfeed where you can sign up to get emailed when there are announcements within the Star Atlas Discord. All that can be found at intergalacticherald.com. Also do have a very rudimentary Star Atlas merch store at intergalacticgear.com. Yeah, just haven't been spending a lot of time on it. But you can buy a couple mugs if you're in the United States. And then the other project, love to get together a community of Star Atlas gamers who aren't going to be joining guilds. So you can check that out at intergalacticcoalition.com. So let's go ahead and get into the bulk of the things that happened this past week in Star Atlas. As I mentioned, there were a couple Zinc guides published. Star Atlas TV, known for recording all the community events, also put out a Medium article going over what Zinc is and how it works. And AFIA also published a guide to Zinc on their website. So both those links and summaries could be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for Weekly Recap Newsletter 190. Next, on Wednesday, the Star Atlas community team had their Atlas Brew. This one was all about the Zinc Alpha dashboard launch. So they started with some updates on news, but then they went into the Zinc Alpha, I don't know if we're calling it a season or whatever, but basically the launch of a test version of the Zinc dashboard. They did note that they've already found a bunch of bugs, which is why they wanted to get community involvement, and they're already working on those fixes. If I remember correctly, this is supposed to be like a 6-week test, alpha, whatever you want to call it. At the Atlas Brew, they did go over the roadmap, and they did mention again that this alpha phase is now. Some of the rewards for doing it is you'll get a cosmetic badge. Something about leveling up to level 20 will carry over to the next season, and then you can keep your check-in streak alive. So basically what the dashboard is right now is you connect your wallet or wallets, and then that starts having the different actions within the Star Atlas ecosystem, from locking Polis or Atlas to playing the UE5 version to doing Sage or doing HoloSim. And what they're checking, it seems like right now, is are all those things being tracked? Does the dashboard have the updates to that, the allocations between different things? So definitely something you can check out. If you want to go to z.inc, you can actually join now and get part of this alpha season, for lack of a better term, and start participating there. But it does feel like, and this is what I'm a little confused on, is some stuff's going to transfer over. Again, this level 20 they keep talking about, but it does feel like everything is just for testing purposes. So if something doesn't work, so be it. So again, I guess be aware of that if you want to get involved. As part of the roadmap they mentioned, then the next season coming is going to be something called Origins. It is where the actual real earning will start occurring, so then it actually counts. They actually mentioned a date of December, so we'll see how that goes. And then they mentioned the next season, which is the Genesis, and this is when I'm not sure if this is when the Zinc blockchain actually launches. I think so, and this is where that first airdrop of the original tokens, when I had to actually look up, people started talking about GTM, and that's a TGE, token generating event. So feels like this airdrop, somehow called Genesis, is there. And they also put a date on that of March. Yeah, they mentioned at the Atlas Brew there's about 2,000 wallets involved. They again reiterated the, not currently, but definitely for the Origins, the real earning, how the distribution will go, and there'll be some like social media components and things like that. They did ask the community what their thoughts on a white paper. I did think there was going to be one, but now sounds like that's not for sure, so we'll see. And then they kind of ended up, again, talking a little bit about the point schedule, and they had showed the graph that had come out before. So anyways, that was pretty much the Atlas Brew. Again, it was great to hear all those things, continue to get information. Would have liked maybe a little more technical details, but again, since this is a test alpha phase, I guess the true tutorials and documentation and explanations, whether there's a white paper or not, that's all going to come, I assume, with the one that's real. So that was on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, the economy forum happened. I forget which number it was, but they've been on a pretty consistent basis on the first Thursday of the month. They did mention that one of the other employees who's in the economy team did leave, but it sounds like just for pursuing other opportunities. So sounds, again, people change jobs all the time. So not much to read into that other than, yeah, somebody left. They did mention there were some bugs on the allocation. Things weren't as spread out as they wanted, so they're working on already fixing that. It was, again, mentioned, reiterating kind of the order of priorities. They really want to emphasize that you'll get more experience points for things that have costs involved. So things like buying ships on the marketplace from the Star Atlas team itself is at the top. Buying tokens and then locking them in the DAO is the next one. And then things like Sage, which, of course, involves ships and things like that. Then the UE5 version, and finally HoloSim. So again, that kind of allocation and priority list makes tons of sense. Because it was the economy forum, they went into more specific stats. So they said there were, at the time, 2,044 total accounts, but only 1,588 are considered primary accounts. So again, I think within the Zinc profile, you can link multiple wallets. I think that's where it was. But then they said only 844 were active. But I forgot what the definition of active was. Or maybe that was earning, continuing to earn. No, actually, I don't remember, because I was thinking I'm not doing anything, but I'm accruing more experience points. They noted that 726 people linked to their UE5 accounts, so that was pretty good. They also mentioned, again, this level 20 thing, and again, that is an artificial cap for this alpha season. So anyways, and then they ended up with getting back to not the basics, but just, again, what the benefit of the Zinc profile, not just the blockchain, but the profile itself. And it did mention that having this kind of single profile does encourage engagement across all products because, again, your profile goes there. I do think it's interesting. We were led to believe that that's Crew, and Crew hasn't really been talked about related to the Zinc profile, Z profile, I think they're calling it, but that's fine. Changing development as we go is just normal for this journey. And then one final thing that was interesting from the economy forum, though they couldn't necessarily say this was directly correlated, there were some more users in Sage. Again, the idea is if you're doing Sage, you might earn, or you will earn, more experience points. It shows up in your Zinc profile. But they did say there were a lot more in HoloSim because we're between chapters there. So people are definitely only playing it to get that experience points. So that does bode well for the idea that this, in addition to having the blockchain features, which will help with performance and fees, that it could, again, encourage people to actually play a game. So anyway, so that's the big things that came out this past week. I did get an email directly from Star Atlas about Zinc, so I'm hoping that means they're actually marketing to people who signed up and gave their emails. So we'll see if, again, that moves the needle at all. So anyway, that's basically the things that happened. I'll go into my kind of next two sections, just talking about my thoughts on the state of Star Atlas this past week, and obviously everything's about Zinc. This alpha season does seem very interesting. It launched well. Again, that shows, I think, maturing in their launch and development cycles. But it does totally make sense that they want to work on any of these bugs. If people are earning real experience and something miscalculates or something like that, it does immediately put a lot of, bad press or negativity that everything's working. I'm still, again, confused on what's going to transfer from this alpha phase season to this origin and how this whole level 20 all relates. But again, it's first, in my opinion, it's first designed as a test, so they're just making sure something will go through. But again, it's a little, currently, at least to me, a little vague on what it is. It does definitely seem like there's a potential to bring more people into the Star Atlas ecosystem to earn experience. And of course, that experience will then translate into potential Zinc tokens at the airdrop on the, Genesis phase. Sorry, too many words. I don't know. We got chapters and HoloSim and seasons and UE5. Anyways, it's fine. Let's see. Oh, the dates. I did mention that. It is interesting that they snuck those in, but only in the sense that they were on a graphic, so they didn't say it. Somebody spent the time, so it tells me that it got approved by everybody. Again, hopefully those aren't just dates that don't have, but definitely a December launch, though it's not that many 4 months away, though we do have the holidays, so we'll see how that all works out. Later in December, in my opinion, just doesn't make sense. Just launch it the 1st of January, but whatever. But we'll see. Again, dates, I go back and forth when they put things on there. Number of active accounts and total number of accounts is good. Seems to align with sort of the active player base in Sage that I've seen some numbers in Discord before, but that's okay. Again, they didn't really announce this again, even classifying it as a secret launch. But yeah, overall, I think this is just a great first step on Zinc. Again, now we're actually able to interact with it. I assume behind the scenes, this is running on the right infrastructure and the blockchain and all that kind of stuff. Actually, I just realized if it's on the current blockchain, so that means it's tracking Solana, not the... Wait, how does that work? It's the... Actually, that's a good point. It's a profile. There is no... It's just tracking actions. So it's tracking the actions on the current blockchain. So maybe when they keep saying this is testing the dashboard, it truly is. They're just testing the tracking mechanisms. I hadn't thought about that. Oh, well. Anyways, we'll see. But again, whatever. That's behind the scenes. Don't need to understand all of that. Yeah. So anyways, good to see. I'm glad they had an Atlas brew about it. The economy forum following up on Zinc. Great follow-ups on both to keep learning more about it. So anyways, and so just the last segment talking about my journey playing Star Atlas. I've been following along. I had some goals in Sage, trying to craft Mamba X. That all went on hold when they recalculated the thing. But also I just realized I was spending too much Solana for potentially a goal that never is obtainable. And once they announced Zinc and experience points we earned, why would I keep spending when who knows? But at least I could get resources to do for things that might be more applicable in C4. Still keeping my automation and Sage offline for now. Oh, I guess I should mention, I think I may have mentioned in the past, I'm leaning toward maybe a claim stakes type of gameplay once C4 comes out, only because it fits some of my long-term interest in real-time strategy games where there's an economy and getting all your things working so that you can go and build your armies to go out and things like that. So I had some initial claim stakes tier 1 that I bought back during the start or whenever they were first announced. Decided to splurge at the time on a claim stake tier 2, which actually worked out really good for resources to keep fueling my fleet. I want to say maybe a month ago, one came on the marketplace at a price point that kind of seemed better, so I went ahead and got it. So I was happy. And then just last weekend, it got cheaper. And again, I don't know if people are just selling things to get out or that's just what the market bears now. I'm not really sure. A lot of the exchanges of things like this on the marketplace that you don't immediately use next, I'm never really sure why people are doing it. But anyways, it got a lot cheaper. So I went ahead and bought another claim stake tier 2. So now I actually have 3 of those. Anyway, so I'm definitely feeling like, and partly that was, like I said, the thing I want to do going into C4. So anyway, so I bumped into another one of those. So that's cool. So that's all, again, but that's outside just stockpiling the 4 resources that those claim stakes are all building. As far as Zinc, yes, I did create a profile, gave it a couple of days. If you are interested in that, you do need to get a code to get in, but if you join the Zinc Discord, which I don't have a link for that, but if you go to the Star Atlas Discord server and look in one of the announcement channels, I'm pretty sure there'll be a link to Zinc there. There are the ability to give out codes. So every time someone creates a profile, they get a few extra codes, but there's a whole channel to ask for getting a code, and usually somebody posts it in there, and that's where it worked out for me. Yeah, so that was all you needed there. Doesn't really mean much of a tutorial. Connect your wallet. Once the wallet's there, you type in your redeem code, and you're off and running at that point. I've only been earning the Zinc experience by my locked Polis and Atlas, but that's been fine at this point. Better than nothing. Definitely doing the daily check-ins. They are on a 24-hour cycle, but I realized once you keep at 24 hours, eventually you start falling behind, and I think you get another whole 24 hours to check in again. So you're always like more than 24 hours. So what started out in the morning is now to noon for me, and I'm pretty sure it'll, with the weekend and stuff, probably get to the afternoon. But again, as long as you check in within 24 hours, or after 24, but before 48, I think is how it works. Then you're able to keep that. Each one of those daily check-in gives you a doubling, or not doubling, but a X factor increase. Yeah. And I think said the streak will go through into the next season. So I'm not sure, don't quote me on any of this. But anyways, yeah, so we're doing that. Yeah, it's another daily routine to add to the mix of emptying my claim stakes out too. So anyway, so yeah, that's what I've been doing. So anyways, thanks for listening. Again, anybody who would like to be on the guest on the podcast, definitely open to that. Please go to intergalacticherald.com and the contact form. Definitely love to chat with other Star Atlas community members, talk about the week in review, or if you're a Star Atlas content creator or Star Atlas builder or something like that, love to chat. Of course, any team members who want to just chat about general topics, not needing alpha or anything about that, just things that might be of interest to beginners. That's my focus. Yeah, please reach out on my website, intergalacticherald.com. If you're interested in a Star Atlas mug, you can go to intergalacticgear.com, because that's all I got and only available in the United States. In fact, my sales tax reseller certificate just expired. Yeah, whatever. Stuff to deal with. And then finally, definitely interested in chatting with other Star Atlas gamers who aren't going to be joining guilds. So you can check out Intergalactic Coalition as a community I like to build so that we could all still hang out. But other than that, thanks for listening. That was the week in review of Star Atlas. My name is Matt. I'm the Intergalactic Herald, and have a great week ahead.